Hello, my wonderful people. Happy Pride, and welcome to this Pride-themed game of Minecraft, which will also involve a lot of Pride-themed ranting. This isn't really scripted. I played this game 2 hours ago, and I'm recording my voice over this, basically reacting to what I did, kind of ignoring the Minecraft and just having my queer rant in the background. If you hear my chair squeaking, that is because my chair is squeaking. Yes, so I started in a hole. This was actually kind of scary because immediately after starting in the hole, I get shot at by a skeleton, which is terrifying because no armor, no nothing. I loaded a bonus chest, couldn't find it. Watch out for that. Yeah, there's the skeleton shooting at me, and I was like, let's swim up and get out of here really quickly. I thought it was rather apt that this is a Pride-themed, video, and I start immediately 2 steps behind. What experience isn't it for queer people that we wind up having to start in holes before we get to thrive? Or wind up in holes, but that's a different comment. By the way, I did not see the chest. The chest over there, couldn't see it. That's invisible to me right now. I fall into this hole again. I fall a lot. This is the point where I'm like, there it is. Yes, I'm very observant. So yes, happy Pride. I'm going to be, again, I fall into a thing. Happy Pride. I wanted to rant about a few things. And one of the things I see every Pride is that Anita Bryant gets brought up, and she is an important person to speak about regarding Pride, given what a horrible person she was and all of the horrific stuff that she said and did against queer people. And of course the epic moment when she gets a pie smushed in her face. And it's an interesting moment because a lot of the rhetoric that she created, a lot of the rhetoric that she weaponized against queer people, particularly gay men. Obviously, I don't think that she lived in such a way that she could have possibly understood queerness as beyond cisgender white men. But a lot of her rhetoric would now later become weaponized and be used against trans people as it is today. And it was the beginning of her downfall when she had the pie smushed in her face. Ironically, the one person, Higgins, and his friend, the other person who had the pie, her husband got all pissy, and they had a spare pie with them that was also intended to be smushed in somebody's face. They failed to use the second pie, and her husband actually got really upset and smushed the pie into the friend's face. I think it was Bruce Brockway, if I'm not mistaken, who got the pie smushed in his face by Anita Bryant's husband, Bob Green, who she ironically divorced, and he got really upset about it because he was like, he's a huge fundamentalist Christian, and he doesn't believe in divorce in the eyes of God, and of course she left him, and she lectures other people about how they should live, but she's a divorcee. Irony. The ranty part about this is that I think that the most important person in the entire story kind of gets overlooked because there's the spectacle of a pie being thrown in Anita Bryant's face, and she cried on television, and it ended her career, basically. But Tom Higgins is a very important person, and we don't talk enough about him and the important stuff that he did for queer people. He started in journalism, and he was actually suspended for being gay because of his involvement in organizing for, he called it it rhymes, which is fantastic. If you hear clicking, that's me going through stuff. He called it the fight repression of erotic expression, and called Free. And he's also kind of credited with coining the term gay pride. It's complicated, and there's a lot of people who argue about that, but he's one of the people who's basically credited with coining the term gay pride. Excuse me, big burp. And so he was suspended from his job. He worked as a nurse, he worked as a writer, but he's mostly known for his activism. He was an anti-war person. He was like the first person in Minnesota who was like a conscientious objector during the Vietnam War. and so he was anti-war. He helped refugees from other countries. His activism is kind of overshadowed by the Anita Bryant situation. Ironically, he also pied another religious guy in the face. I can't remember his name. Archbishop John Roach also pied him in the face. John Roach, less evil than Anita Bryant, but the bar is in hell. But I do think that it's very important that we speak about Tom Higgins, not just because of the pie incident and ending Anita Bryant's career, but also for the other really important work that he did for queer people. And that's important too. We need to, recognize and learn about his life and celebrate his life beyond the Anita Bryant situation. It's also important to point out that he died of HIV in 1994. And it's kind of tragic because Anita Bryant, by comparison, got to live a full life where he didn't, where his life was cut short by HIV. And that's important to point out as well. But yeah, that is the first part of my big rant today. I wanted to speak about Tom Higgins. What an important man he was. What an amazing legacy he leaves behind him. And we should remember him. Yes, the Anita Bryant thing is fantastic. Pie in her face. And, I sometimes wish that people like J.K. Rowling would get pies in their face more often. But there you have it. Tom Higgins, 1950 to 1994, died at the age of 44. The other thing, also now that I mentioned it, the word TERF, second part of my rant. Maybe this might be a longer part of my rant, but I see a lot of people saying, oh no, you shouldn't use the term TERF. And I have a lot of opinions about this. I've actually lost my script for this. No, I didn't. There it is. I did script this. I'm a nerd. You'll have to excuse me. This was supposed to be an impromptu rant, but I made myself pointers. Always make yourself pointers. I get lost. So yes, people will often say, oh, we shouldn't call them TERFs. We should call them farts. We should call them, anything else. I disagree with this for a number of reasons. And there's a reason why I keep calling them TERFs. The first and most important reason for why I call them TERFs is, and I want people to understand why I say I use it as a term of respect for them. I don't respect them, but it was the term that they used to describe themselves at first, which is very important. This was the word that the trans-exclusionary radical feminist movement, as a part of the second wave feminist movement, it was what they used to describe themselves. It is a part of radical feminism, particularly situated in second wave feminism. And that's important. It was a word that they used to describe themselves. I'm going to put a pin in that, and I'm going to come back to that pin because it becomes important later. But this leads into my second point. We need to situate problematic feminisms, so cisgender feminism, white feminism, heterosexual feminism, Western feminism, rich feminism, Instagram feminism, problematic versions of feminism. We need to situate them in history. And we can't just say, oh, that's not real feminism because it had massively problematic issues about it. It is a part of feminist history. And we can't improve our feminism if we don't understand where the bad feminism comes from. We don't get to intersectional feminism if we don't recognize where we, and this includes me, this includes you, this includes everybody, we can't get to a more intersectional feminism that includes everybody if we don't understand where we fall short. And often by employing the no true Scotsman fallacy, oh, well, he wasn't a real Scotsman, oh, but they aren't a real feminist, it becomes problematic because it divorces the fallacy, it divorces the bigotry out of the history and tries to sanitize feminism. Feminism has never been a pure and clean thing. First wave feminism was a racist mess. Okay, so second wave feminism and third wave feminism had their racist nonsense as well. But particularly first wave feminism explicitly excluded black women from the movement. And because they wanted to be very, it was a game of respectability politics. They wanted to be, with white men ruling over everybody else. And if we take problematic feminisms and try and distance them from better feminisms, we run the risk of sanitizing history and rewriting history and making the progress cleaner than what it really is. You can't divorce feminism from its history. It's a disservice to the people who did the work. It is a disservice to the people who have always pointed in the right direction, and particularly black women, in many ways trans people these days. But yes. Oh, here's actually a really nice part where I get a trident in the game. Yes, I'm still playing Minecraft. I remember that I'm playing Minecraft. This was a fantastic point because this trident actually helped me out a lot. You'll see me killing a lot of sheep. But yes, as I was saying, one of the reasons why I keep using the term TERF is because it situates the bigotry in history, and it pays homage to the journey of feminism as an imperfect journey. So my first point, it's a term that was used by radical feminists to describe themselves, not all radical feminists, but specifically trans-exclusionary radical feminists. And that radical feminism has a very long and problematic history. It was racist, it was ableist, it was transphobic, it still is transphobic. And we need to honor that history and also be honest with that history, because if we sanitize that, we let ourselves down, and we often let ourselves off of the hook as well. And that is the second reason why I will keep on using the term TERF when I speak about specifically transphobes who hide behind feminism. I'll get back to that point as well. The third reason why I keep using the term TERF is because it pisses them off so badly. It honestly, it gives them ulcers. They hate the word so badly, even though, again, it was the word that they used to describe themselves. But their hatred has poisoned their own rhetoric and their own ideology and their own hatred so badly that merely speaking about them comes off as an insult. I mean, you hear it often, oh, TERF is a slur, TERF is a slur. I mean, we all know it isn't. But honestly, it gives me energy. I use the term TERF because it pisses them off. It's a balance between the two. I respect their history in that it was a word that they used to describe themselves. I respect the history of feminism, and as a consequence, it pisses them off, because if there's anything that a TERF hates, it's the history of feminism. They absolutely cannot deal with the reality of the history of feminism, and this is the dirty stuff, particularly white feminism, particularly cisgender feminism, particularly feminism that has been completely co-opted by capitalism and the West. White feminism. Glorious stuff. Nothing quite like, poison that gets sold to you is a good thing. Yes, so obviously we get to like late third wave, questionably fourth wave feminism, where we get into the intersectional stuff, which starts seeing feminism as impacted by issues of race, impacted by issues of socioeconomics, impacted by issues like disability, and yes. So again, that is my third reason. These things kind of all link into each other. I do call them TERFs because it does piss them off. my fourth and arguably also one of the more important reasons is that I keep calling them TERFs because it is a popular term that everybody recognizes. It is a greatly misunderstood term. As I mentioned before, a lot of people think that TERF and transphobe are interchangeable. And I think that this is a mistake because transphobia is specifically the hatred of trans people. It is specifically there's transphobia and transmisia. I use the word transphobia for the same reason I use the word TERF. People tend to muddy the waters by messing with the meaning of the word phobia, particularly when it comes to the hatred of a particular group of people. I use the word transphobia for the same reason. It is historically situated, it is clear, and people tend to muddy the waters when they shouldn't. But yes, sorry, my original point regarding that is that I use the term TERF because it's easy for people to recognize, and although it is majorly understood and confused with transphobia, where transphobia is specifically the hatred of, excuse me, a big burp again, where transphobia is explicitly the hatred of trans people, being a TERF is using so-called feminism to hide behind so-called feminism to lend credence to transphobia. And while that distinction exists between the term TERF and transphobia, I do believe that it's important to keep using the TERF because people know it. It communicates a very strongly, like if I say TERF, J.K. Rowling's face pops into people's heads. If I say TERF, Glinner's, what's his name? I know him as Glinner from the old Twitter days. Linehan. His face pops into people's heads immediately. I also use the word TERF specifically when I refer to men who are TERFs, because TERFs love to use the it's a misogynistic term excuse. And no, Daddy TERF and Mommy TERF are constantly, Daddy TERF Glinner is always fighting for Mommy TERF's attention, and I'm not even 100% sure J.K. Rowling knows who, I think she knows who he is, but she tends to ignore him, which is really funny. And again, that's another thing that gives me so much energy. Again, this is a rant, so if I do circle back to ideas, sorry. So those are my 4 main points. The reason why I keep using the term TERF: I have pop-ups on my computer, closing the pop-ups on my computer. So yes, my 4 very important reasons for why I keep using the term TERF. 1, it was a term that they used to describe themselves. 2, by saying that TERF isn't real feminism does a lot to sanitize the actual history of feminism and how messy feminism has always been. If you say that they're not real feminists, are you going to argue that the original feminists, the racists who got women the vote, are you going to argue that they aren't feminists too? What's her name? Pankhurst, the woman who threw herself under the king's horse. She did a lot for feminism, incredibly racist, didn't want anything to do with black people because she believed that it would dilute the feminist, that men wouldn't take them seriously if they consorted with black people. So yes, that's point 2. And 3, it does piss them off if you use the term TERF. They hate being called TERFs, which gives me energy. And 4, it is a popular term that a lot of people recognize, and I think we should keep using it more, particularly when we refer to transphobes who hide behind feminism as a sort of plausible deniability to cover for their transphobia. I got through that part of my rant quite in a roundabout way, but you're welcome. I'm going in a roundabout way as I'm running around this island, not 100% sure what I'm doing. I wonder if you can guess what I am doing in this game, by the way. I'm killing a lot of sheep, collecting a lot of wool. Do you know what I'm doing? it's always interesting to me that that this time of year always. I'm going to start with the other thing, which always I find funny. Oh, hold on, I have an alarm going off. I should take my meds, or I should just drop it on the floor. Excuse me, this is me being professional. If you need to take your meds, this is a message to you to take your meds. Excuse me as I grab a drink of water. The bottle is fighting me. There we go. Take your meds, folks. Have a glass of water. Take care of yourselves. Yeah, so returning to my original point, this is that time of the year when we always get that thing where people are like, oh, how can you have Pride Month but not have a Veterans Month? And it was in May. It was in May. If people cared so much about veterans, there's another one in November. The American one is in November. The Military Appreciation Month is in November, and it's always funny, like they care. So it's like it's the same thing. Like whenever Women's Day comes around, and then men complain, "Oh, when is Men's Day?" And it's like that's also November. Like if they cared so much, why don't they make a bigger issue out of it? That's hilarious to me. It's not so much a rant; it's just something that I find funny. They go out of their way to complain about something that they do nothing about. It's like if they genuinely cared about veterans, you'd think they'd know about these sorts of things. It's also funny because it's the exact same people who will vote for people who will strip veterans of their rights. But, that's neither here nor there. I'm about to do a very weird thing. I keep forgetting I don't have featherfall on. I don't think I've got any boots on. I probably have leather boots on at this point. Can't remember. Anyway, so yeah, people are very weird about the fact that Pride Month exists, and how queer people have needed to fight for visibility and agency, and just the need to exist in society without violence, and that we are in 2025 and queer people are still experiencing outsized amounts of violence. And people argue, oh, why is there a Pride Month? Why don't we get a straight Pride Month? And it's like straight people don't experience the kind of violence we experience. I can go on a completely other rant, bring in my theological stuff in here about the nature of pride and why pride is important, and why human beings should have a more healthy relationship with pride, and how the term has been poisoned by religion. But that's a completely different story, and I'm not going to whip out my theology on you today. I am not scripted well enough for that. I'm a nerd, but I'm not that much of a nerd. Oh, lovely, the Minecraft music kicks in. Apparently I have a soundtrack now. I'm always weirded out by how Minecraft's soundtrack pops in and out like that. It's not constant. It surprises you. It's like it's a good thing, and sometimes you want more. Always leave them wanting more, apparently. That is a bit loud in my ears. I'm going to turn that down for me. It probably shouldn't change on your side. Hopefully, who knows? Yes. But this brings me to my fourth thing to rant about, which is I love how every time this year, and it's like clockwork, and it usually kicks in about the 2nd of June. It takes people about a day for this stuff to, and it's the discourse. How, transmasculine people can't call themselves lesbians, and bisexual people can't call themselves lesbians. I always find it funny that it's always attacking women. Or I should be clear, when it attacks transmasculine people, it is always attacking people that people perceive of as women. Like there's a huge misogyny attached to this idea that lesbianism needs to be protected the way that TERFs want to protect toilets. Like there's a link there that whenever people try and protect lesbianism from the horrible queer people, the irony of that is like beyond me. This idea that transmasculine people can't call themselves lesbians. People who for years have lived in the lesbian community, who have built a lesbian community around them, who are responsible for building the lesbian community, when they finally come out as trans, now they can't be a part of the community that they've been instrumental in building. Now they can't be a part of that community anymore because they've come out as who they truly are. It's ridiculous. Like the discourse sounds in the queer community the way the TERFs sound. It's strange to me. Like lesbianism doesn't need to be defended in the same way that bathrooms don't need to be defended. Like there's no violence there. Like, if anything, the enemy is the cisgender gay guy. Not the cisgender gay guys. What am I talking about? The cisgender heterosexual guys. They're the people doing the damage. No bisexual lesbian or trans-masculine lesbian is the problem here. Like, this sort of discourse is so tired. The pansexual versus bisexual thing, it's like if you even read vaguely the history of bisexuality in particular, the term bisexual originally never referred to sexuality. It explicitly had to do with intersex people. The term bisexual originally meant people who are bi-sexed. Obviously, the term is outdated and is no longer used. There isn't a purity in terms. Like, people who try and create an absolute purity in terms, and this is the same for people who attack bisexual people, and it's the same for people who attack pansexual people. Like, stop attacking each other. It's like we're all on the same side. Some people have a preference for certain terms. Certain terms mean different things to different people. This isn't a monolith. Queer people are not a monolith. And we should let, there's this idea that we all have to pile ourselves into the most tightly knit boxes possible, and that there needs to be like a purity to the labels, which is absolutely ridiculous. I remember seeing a person speaking about being gay or being straight as a non-binary person, and how ridiculous it actually is. The purity of your terms mean nothing, particularly when non-binary people get involved. As a trans-feminine non-binary person, a non-binary trans woman, these terms are so nebulous. And people who try to protect these terms, like, who are you protecting it for? By the time you've excluded everybody, you're not in community with anybody. You've created a community so poor it consists of you, and that's not community. Gatekeeping in the community is poisonous. We need to be building longer tables, not taller walls. I can't remember the quote. If you remember the quote, leave it in the comments. But yes, surprisingly, I've run out of rant. This video is way longer than I remember it. So I don't know if you can guess what I'm doing. Should I spoil it for you? I'm going to spoil it for you. I'm trying to create... Excuse me, another burp. Another burp. What on earth is going on? Is this medication? Who knows? I'm trying to create a queer flag. The progress flag, to be specific. Not precisely, I'm just trying to collect all the wall colors. And I screw up at a few very key moments when I'm busy doing this. At the moment, I'm running around looking for two things. I'm looking for, what are the white flowers called again? Lily of the Valley. And I'm looking for brown sheep. Either that or a jungle, because you need cocoa to create brown dye. I don't run into a jungle at all in this video. But in many ways, I was very fortunate to find all of the colors. And in other ways, you're going to see me making a lot of very big mistakes, when I do find all of the colors, I'm pretty much just running around in the background here. It's really oh, this was fun. Shoal drifting, very, very, very fun. My computer was screaming at me when I was doing this. There's something about moving very fast in Minecraft that really, really does cause computers to scream. Oh, I thought these were sheep, and I was very confused from it. I'm like, no, these are snow pigs. Yes. This is so much fun. If you haven't done this in Minecraft, find yourself an ice lake and go sledding across it. I think it is the fastest you can travel in Minecraft. I might be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Yeah. Do you know, since we're ranting about Pride, I've never actually been to a Pride march in my life, and it's something that I really wish that I can experience one day. I'd like to go to a Pride march. I'm struggling with walking at the moment. A while ago I had quite a severe dislocation sprain in my foot. The bones in my foot decided to no, and I was in a wheelchair for a while. Currently on a crutch, not a crutch, a cane. Support, #disability. And I'm actually coming to the realization that this might just be a permanent injury that I have to live with. And I'm okay with that. I've always had my cane. It's, life. And, but one day when I'm strong enough, I really do want to go on a proper Pride march. That would be awesome. I'd like to go with my friends and actually just have like a really good fun time. It's a part of that important thing to me that a lot of people mistake Pride as a party. And it is. There is a festive element to Pride. But I think there's a politically much more important thing attached to Pride, and that is us coming together to tell the world that we're still here, we're still queer, and that's important. There's a weirdness to the term, the first Pride was a riot, which is true. But it was also a lot more than that. Pride is born out of a resistance, out of systemic resistance of a violent state that has weaponized a lot of things, religion against us, that has weaponized our own lives against us. And history seems to constantly be repeating itself. And yeah, I don't really know what to say about that. It's kind of frustrating because we see history repeating itself in so many unnecessary ways. Again, going full circle back to Anita Bryant, everything that she said is being said today by TERFs. Everything that she said about bathrooms, about protecting the children, word for word, is being regurgitated by TERFs at the moment, by transphobes at the moment. Nothing is new under the sun. It is the exact self-same rhetoric that is being used over and over and over again to target then gay men and now trans women. It's kind of weird that queer women have historically been made invisible by the culture wars, and how, because of the perception of you see, historically speaking, this was a weird thing I did with this chest. You'll have to excuse me now. I've got to go and sort out this again with this chest. But historically speaking, deviant men were made examples of, and deviant women were made invisible. And I think that's why, one of the reasons why trans people have been such a spanner in the works for the concept of conservatism, because we have now become the opposite. Trans men are being made, or I should say trans masculine people are being made invisible, and trans feminine people are being made hyper visible, which kind of flips the script on them. So trans women get treated in many ways the way that cisgender gay men have been treated, and trans men are being treated in many ways that cisgender gay women have been treated. I should say queer. It involves bisexuality as well, and obviously it's not. It's the rule of thumb, not the every case. There have been cases of queer women and transmasculine men who have been made hypervisible, and there have been cases of trans women who have been made invisible. It's just that the trend tends to head in a particular way. That boat shot off really quickly. I can't remember the point I was making. But basically, yes, that history is repeating itself in very, what would I say, predictable ways. We've seen all of this before. And I think that there's an interesting dishonesty coming from transphobes who believe that what they're doing is in any way novel. It's always funny to me, like it was particularly a thing in South Africa where a lot of people tried to pretend that queerness was a new thing. And you can like go into the records and specifically see how queerness was something that was tried to be wiped off of the map by the church, by the colonists. In many ways, those two things were the same thing, which is interesting. Tragic, but interesting. And yes, so as I said, everything that Anita Bryant said, word for word, is being repeated by the transphobes now. And it's all one of the reasons why I think that pride is so important, is that we have to keep reminding people that we are here, we're not going anywhere. If you somehow manage to get rid of all queer people would still be born again. As long as there are humans, there'll be queer people, because to be human is to be queer in some ways. I don't mean all people are queer. I mean that as long as humans are there, queer people will be there, because being queer is fundamentally a part of being human. Every society will have us, and we're not, unnatural. We're not normal. We're a part of humanity, and you can't just get rid of us, no matter how desperately you try and scream about chromosomes, or ask weird hypothetical questions about what a woman is. It often reminds me of a philosopher who takes a chicken in storms and is like, behold a man. The same people who ask you what is a woman can't define a chair. It's that level of pseudo-philosophical nonsense. There was more important with the whole behold a man thing, had more important philosophical... I'm ranting. Will I cut this out? Probably. Who knows? But yes, it's nonsense. Everything that transphobia these days is basically rooted in hatred and nonsense. There is no coherent part to it. It's hatred that's been recycled, and surprisingly old hatred. If you dig deep into transphobia, you'll find homophobia. You dig deep into homophobia, you'll find sexism. Dig deep into sexism, you'll find racism. Sexism and racism are interestingly connected to each other. You can't have a purity of race if you don't subject your woman to, say your woman, as if women belong to everybody. But yes, you have to, keep women under the thumb in order to have your pure race. It's also one of the reasons why they're attacking abortion, why they're attacking divorce. Again, remember, Anita Bryant was a divorcee, And these are the people who lecture us about the holiness of marriage. I don't think Higgins ever did get married. His Wikipedia page at least didn't mention a partner. I don't think he could have gotten married. Wait, hold on. He passed away in 1994. But my point stands. It's hypocritical nonsense. You know, the divorcee lecturing queer people about the sanctity of marriage and the sanctity of relationships, the sanctity of sex. I'm not religious by any means, but I do find that queer people understand sex in a much more, shall I say, ethereal way than somebody who has, did I say trans people? I should say queer people. Queer people experience sex in a different way, in a deeper way than somebody who has only ever experienced sex within the very, very narrow paradigms of cis heterosexuality. And that's kind of sad. Yes, again, I am ranting, so... So they changed the forest generation in this game, and I remember I was specifically looking for Lily of the Valley at this point. I was running around looking for damn white flower, and they've changed where flowers generate. So now they've got leaf litter and these yellow flowers that grow on the ground everywhere. And in I can't remember these trees' names again. The lighter wood. These biomes would always have Lily of the Valley growing in patches, and now you just can't find it anymore. Actually, I should look up and see where it would grow in the new generation schemes. But yeah. Incidentally, what are your thoughts about the leaf litter in Minecraft at the moment? I managed to kill myself a while ago by dropping a water bucket onto a bunch of leaf litter, and it was bouncing up and down, and somehow I got ricocheted, and it like nearly instantly killed me. Like I got crushed up between the bouncing brown leaf litter and the canopy of trees above me. Don't know how it happened. It was nearly instantaneous. Just by putting a bucket of water down, whole bunch of the leaves broke loose, and somehow it caused me to get like flung between the ground and the trees above. It was actually kind of funny and really irritating. Yes, I had this uncanny ability of getting to incredibly high levels in Minecraft, not spending it on enchantments, and getting myself killed. Which I feel is the quintessential Minecraft experience. Yeah. But yeah, I've kind of run the course on my ranting regarding pride. Kind of run the course on my ranting regarding Minecraft. I've nearly got all of the colors here. Actually, this is where at the point where I give up looking for Lily of the Valley, and I remember something very important. You can get a white dye from other sources. You don't just need to get it from Lily of the Valley. And I don't know why it took me this long to remember that. I literally just needed one white dye to make the light blue for the trans part of the flag. And this is where that trident comes in so useful. I was so grateful for that trident right then. I have a love-hate relationship with skeletons. Fantastic resource when you need bone meal. Really annoying if they pop out of nowhere. Also, this is one of the parts where I'm going to make a very big mistake that I mentioned earlier. You'll notice that I'm only missing one brown wool, and I think I nearly run instantly into a brown sheep here, which made me very, very excited. Here we go. It's over this there we go. Brown sheep. I have everything I need. Now you're going to see the mistake that I'm about to make. I was so happy with myself at this point. I'm like, I'm going to clear out a field. Let me clear out a field right here. I'm going to use my water bucket, flood everything and get rid of all of the leaf litter. I say leaf litter, it's the grass and the flowers. And I'm like, is this enough space? And I'm thinking to myself, have I done a good job? And I immediately want to dye some. Do you see the mistake? Do you see the mistake? I dyed the black wool. My brain is breaking at this point in the game, and I'm going to bash my head against that wall, and I'm going to go to the oceans to get some more black dye. Need more wool obviously now because I wasted wool for all of this. I actually like the final spot where I wound up in this game. Sometimes mistakes can be good things, even if they're very frustrating. I was incredibly frustrated at this point, and I was like, what did I do, Charles? And here I'm basically looking for squids. And I think I found them quite easily. I think I needed to get into the boat. Here I'm, I do this thing where I make things a lot harder for myself than they really do need to be. And I do think I was clever at the time. This is a good way of crossing a ravine. If you manage to keep your balance on top of the water source. Righty. Looking for squids, looking for squids. I think it's at this point where I then jump into the water. Nothing, fishies. I run off and I'm like, hold on, I have a boat. That's a boat. You can use the boat to go on the water. And I think I found squids quite quickly. Dolphins. I think I caught them just out the corner of my eye. And I was like, hey, was that squids? There, I caught them in the corner of my eye. There we go. Now I finally have all the dye that I need. This is the point where I'm like, where should I do this? I was also considering the lighting situation and where the sun was in the game. And I don't know why I decided to break or save this boat. It was like I'd already achieved my stated goal. I say stated goal. I was making up my mind as I was going on throughout all of this. But yes, I hope you guys have all had a good beginning to your Pride. I hope you have a good rest of the... Do you see the mistake I nearly made there? Nearly did this exact same thing again, but I caught myself. See? Charles learns from Charles' mistakes. But yes, I hope you guys have a good June. Things are kind of horrible in the world for queer people all over the place. And I hope that things are better for you. And that things... that you at least just get a little bit of peace out of all of the nonsense that is floating around politically. Queer people really do deserve better. It's also at this time when we also think of the people in Palestine. And I just think, that generally all of the violence and hatred that's going on throughout the world, things like Pride, things like standing up for Palestine, these are all such very important things that we have to keep doing. Not just to fight against the abuse itself, but also to remind ourselves that we're human, that we're a part of all of this, in it all together. Again, we need to be building longer tables, not higher walls. It is so deeply important for us to not just fight, but to coexist. I saw somebody mention the quote. I can't remember who said the quote. It was something like, we fight in the morning and we party at night, and we party at night so that we can carry on fighting again the next morning. I screwed that up. I can't remember the original quote, but it was something along those lines. And how important it is for us just to be building community, when things are as terrible as they can be sometimes, and find the joy with each other. And yeah, here's my little pride flag that I've made in Minecraft. So I hope you've enjoyed my rant. This has been a really odd rant on a lot of topics. I love my little skin that I made for myself in Minecraft. I wish my hair was this long. Or that purple. Oh, good lord, a turf. Hold on, let me get rid of the turf. Boop. Pokey stick. Bye-bye. She'll be happy over there. Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me for all of this. I hope you have a wonderful Pride, and take care of each other. All my love.